Some of the folks in next up, we've had a bit of this conversation, but I want to talk about what I think is it's this this mirror in a way of this moment that we're in, the moment in time that we're in, which I think is actually very unique from a social movement perspective. We have, guys, we hear all the time about the various environmental crises that we face. There's a water crisis, there's a food crisis, there's the climate change crisis. All kinds of multiple environmental crises that are sort of now multiplying and spinning into themselves. We have already shifted the ecological landscape of the planet. That's happened, right? Pretty much within a couple generations of this species. That's pretty fundamentally mind-blowing to think that we did that. The other thing that is happening at this moment is we have this economic meltdown, right? We have an economic crisis. And there's, I think, still an opportunity. There's still an opportunity there in terms of people questioning the process and the system that brought us to this moment in time around economic collapse. And so what I think is unique is we have this global marriage right now of ecological crises and an economic crisis. And one of the things that I do think is unique about this moment is we've had moments like this in the past, throughout history. There's great chronicles of that. But always in those moments in the past, there was somewhere else we as a species could go. All of those crises were geographically isolated. It's no longer the case. There is no other place for us to escape to. We've done actually a nice job of ensuring that we don't have a lifeboat this time, which get pretty freaky at some level. And then when I think about what that means in terms of all of us in the world are actually in a very similar place, with many variations in terms of north and south and where we happen to live and where we were born and all those things. But in terms of the threat that we face, Sister was talking about it earlier in terms of this is our threat to ourselves as a species. The Earth will, at some level, get along quite nicely, perhaps without us around, and messing things up. Okay, so that's this moment in time. What I see in BC is I see social movements that for the most part are fragmented. What I hear from folks that I work with who've been doing the work longer than I have is that they feel as if social movements have never been weaker in this country and in my province in a long time of doing social change work. Now, that may be true. What I think is an opportunity is that we have this chance to reframe the discussion and hold the space for what's possible. And what I mean by that is I feel like, from what I hear, it's been a long time since in the West we could have an open discussion about capitalism. We're still probably far away from that in some places, but I actually do read about the danger of capitalism in terms of where the place it's brought us to right now, ecologically and economically. And from folks I talk to at home who've been in the work longer than I have, they feel like it's been a long time since there was a public space for that discussion. Some folks call it degrowth, right? There's different words, there's different frame to get at this, but I think there's an opportunity within a moment of rupture. Folks have read the shock doctrine. Naomi Klein talks about big moments that are either instigated or take place that allow rapid change, rapid reshifting of society. Traditionally, for the last 30, 40 years at least, the folks who have taken advantage of those moments, it's been the neoliberal project, right? Folks who do not have what I would argue is a progressive mindset or a progressive economic or justice agenda. Usually, in moments of rupture, whatever those are, those societal moments, most of us turn to people and voices that offer a measure of security. Because we're scared, right? We're animals. We're scared, we turn to a voice that feels like it might have something that provides an element of safety to it. And generally speaking, those voices are not progressive voices. Bush, after 9/11, was a prime example of that in terms of the dominant message that came out. I say all that to say this, that I think that with the merger of these two, the ecological and the economic, the amount of rupture moments globally and locally are going to increase in frequency, and they're going to shorten in duration between them. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity within that for social movements and progressive voices and progressive movements to be the ideas and to be the people and to be the space in a way. 4 minutes? Okay. Tick tock, tick tock. That, and I want to be really, what I'm not talking is about like a progressive eco-fascistic state. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. But I want to be clear that I think we're in the danger of going in that direction. And I think that the neoliberal project will very rapidly, if we give it space to, reframe society in a corporate fascistic way under the guise of saving us from ecological destruction, which that system has brought us to. And if we are not smart and we are not strategic, we will allow that to happen. Because that will seem safe and secure, I think. So, come back to, I do think there's an opportunity that's connected to some of the things that I heard in this conversation, which is about connected back to community, which is about connected to the concept of people feeling as if they have voice and space to shape their community, which I think a lot of disenfranchisement and apathy comes out of a feeling, but it doesn't really matter what I do or how I do it, it's not going to impact my community or the folks that I spend time with or the place that I live in. And there's excellent work going on at the international level, and we need more of that. There is good work going on across the country, and we need more of that. And I think there's a huge opportunity at the local level, both in terms of grassroots activism and in terms of both taking control of and then trying to shape mechanisms of power. Because I also think that as progressives, we shy away from power. And we shy away from the spaces and the structures that actually set the framework for how our communities happen. I think there's many reasons for that, many of them valid. But I think that it's useful for us to think about, especially at the local level. I've been an elected municipal politician. I feel very passionately about the power of local government to shape community and be impacted by people's lives. And so one of the things that I think is interesting about this discussion, okay, 2 more thoughts and then I'll shut up. I think we have an opportunity to hold the space to bring people together to actually have safe discussions about what we want our communities to be. One of the things I think that the neoliberal project has done very well from us as a society is stripped us of the belief that we have the capacity to dream. And then that we actually have the tools to put those dreams into place, right? That we actually can't dream about things that are about equity and justice. That it's just about the individual. That I actually think at a core level, most people actually still want that. Regardless of voting patterns or voting intention, I think at a core level, we still have a progressive value. Many folks, the majority of folks in the country, in a number of areas. So I think there's a spot for us as progressives to hold the space to come together, to dream, and then figure out how to put that into place. And I think there's a way to do that that makes people feel welcome and makes people feel that they have a voice and a place where that voice can matter. And I think there's a real space, a real opportunity to fill what I think is a void, because what I see within that is a hunger for community. I think we all want community because that's about knowing that I belong somewhere. And I have yet to meet anyone, regardless of their political inclination, that doesn't feel like they want to belong somewhere. I think that's what a lot of our structures are about. So I'll hold there. There's other thoughts and other ideas and other questions, but I know we're going now into more coordinating our efforts around solidarity and creating local change. So thanks for listening to me, Drona.